Mark Bennett thought the hidden cameras would protect his paralyzed baby girl. But one night he opened the live feed and froze. On the screen, Hannah Parker was in the nursery with Lily, the room dark except for the nightlight by the crib. Hannah's face looked wet, like she had been crying for a long time. She held Lily's tiny hand against her cheek, whispering words Mark was never meant to hear. "I won't fail you," Hannah said in a shaky voice. "Not like I failed him." Then Hannah looked straight toward the wall, straight toward the spot where Mark had hidden the camera, and she spoke again, even softer. "If you ever find out what I'm doing here, you'll hate me." Mark's throat went tight. His hands shook on the phone. He tried to turn off the feed, but he could not move his finger. Lily, 1-year-old and unable to move her legs, made a small sound in her sleep and reached for Hannah like she was her mother. Mark did not know what scared him more, Hannah's words, or the fact that he had been spying on the only person who had brought peace back into his home. 9 months earlier, Mark's home had been full of life. His wife Amy used to talk to him while he made coffee. She would tease him about working too much, then kiss Lily's head and say, "We're still here, that's what matters." Then came the crash. A drunk driver ran a red light in Charlotte. Mark's car was hit, spun, and slammed to a stop. Amy did not survive. Lily did, but her spine was badly injured. The doctor told Mark the truth without soft words. Lily's legs would not work. Mark brought his daughter home and tried to be everything at once. He learned how to lift her without hurting her. He learned her medicines, her appointments, her little sounds. He also tried to keep his company running because bills, workers, and contracts did not stop just because his world had ended. He hired caregivers because he had no choice. One left after a few days, saying she could not handle the pressure. Another stayed a week, then quit with an apology. A third walked out during a shift and never returned. Mark found Lily crying alone, and he sat on the nursery floor and cried too, because he did not even know who to blame anymore. After that, trust felt like a joke. Mark started checking locks twice. He watched the baby monitor more than he slept. He told himself he was being careful. The truth was, he was terrified of losing Lily the way he lost Amy. When Hannah Parker replied, Mark almost ignored the message. But her words were simple. She said she had cared for kids who needed extra help, and she asked to meet Lily first. On Monday morning, Hannah arrived with a bag and calm eyes. Mark expected pity or fear or a long speech. Hannah gave none of that. "Can I meet her?" she asked, quiet and steady. In the nursery, Hannah knelt close to the crib and spoke to Lily like Lily mattered. She did not rush. She waited. Lily watched her, then gave a small smile. He hired Hannah that same day. That night, Mark sat alone at the kitchen table. He should have felt relief. Instead, fear sat on his shoulders. What if Hannah left too? What if Lily smiled today, then shut down again tomorrow? At 3 in the morning, Mark ordered hidden cameras. The next day, while Hannah worked, Mark installed them. One in the living room, one in the kitchen corner, one tucked behind a picture frame near Lily's crib. He told himself it was for Lily, but he did not tell Hannah. On Tuesday, Mark went back to his office, but he could not focus. Hannah moved through the house with quiet purpose. She washed bottles, folded tiny clothes, and kept Lily close. When Lily cried, Hannah did not sigh. She lifted Lily gently, changed her diaper, and spoke in a soft voice like she was calming herself too. Then Hannah laid a colorful mat on the living room floor, the same mat Mark had bought months ago and never used. She placed Lily on her stomach and lay down beside her, face to face. "Look at me, sweet girl," Hannah said. "We try a little, then we rest." She held a toy just out of Lily's reach. Lily stared, then stretched one arm forward. Hannah moved the toy closer, praising her in a low voice. Mark watched, confused at first, then ashamed, because he realized Hannah was doing therapy, not play. Hannah massaged Lily's legs with slow circles, careful hands. She counted under her breath, then stopped, letting Lily relax. Lily gave a small laugh, and Mark's eyes filled, because it had been so long since he heard that sound in his house. That evening, Mark came home early. He stood in the hallway and watched with his own eyes, not through a screen. Hannah was feeding Lily, wiping her mouth, talking like Lily could answer. When Hannah noticed Mark, she smiled. "She tried hard today," she said. "She's stronger than people think." "Thank you," Mark replied. The words felt too small for what she was doing. After Hannah left, Mark sat by Lily's crib. Lily stared up at him calm, then babbled like she was trying to form a name. "Ha ha," she murmured. Mark understood, and it hurt. Lily was reaching for Hannah even when Hannah was gone. Late that night, Mark opened the camera app again. The nursery feed filled his screen. Hannah was there, sitting beside the crib, coat still on, like she had stayed late. She leaned close and held Lily's hand. And then Hannah whispered the words that made Mark go still. "If you ever find out what I'm doing here, you'll hate me." Mark did not sleep after that night. He just kept watching. Hannah sat beside Lily's crib, coat still on, the night light glowing. She held Lily's hand to her cheek and whispered, "I won't fail you, not like I failed him." Then she looked toward the wall, toward the spot where Mark had hidden the camera, and said, "If you ever find out what I'm doing here, you'll hate me." By morning, Mark felt sick with questions. He went to his office in uptown Charlotte, but his mind stayed on his phone. He checked the live feed again and again. At home, Hannah moved through the house with calm hands. When Lily cried, Hannah went straight to her, lifted her carefully, and spoke softly. "It's okay, sweet girl," she said. "I'm here." Mark waited for something bad. It did not come. Hannah changed Lily, fed her, and carried her to the living room. She rolled out the playmat Mark had bought and never used. She laid Lily on her stomach and lay beside her, face to face. "Look at me," Hannah said. "We try a little, then we rest." She held a toy just out of reach. Lily stared, then stretched her arm. Hannah moved the toy closer and waited. "That's it," Hannah whispered. "You can do it." Lily touched it and made a happy sound. Hannah clapped quietly, like she did not want to scare her. Then she massaged Lily's legs in slow circles and talked as she worked. "We keep them loose," Hannah said. "We help your body remember." Mark watched until his eyes burned. Shame rose in him because Hannah was doing therapy, and he had not known how to do it. That afternoon, Mark came home early. He stood in the hallway and watched. Hannah sat on the floor with Lily against her chest, rocking her in small, steady moves. Hannah sang so softly Mark almost missed it. "You're safe," she sang. "You're not alone." Mark had to turn his face away, because Amy used to sing to Lily too. He had not heard that kind of song in his house since the crash. Hannah noticed him and stopped singing. Her voice stayed polite, but her eyes looked careful. "She worked hard today," Hannah said. She tried to reach for the toy by herself. Mark nodded. "Thank you," he said. The words felt small. That night after Hannah left, Mark typed her name into his laptop. He told himself it was normal, a check, nothing more. But his hands were not steady. He found a college page. Hannah Parker, pediatric nursing. UNC Charlotte, withdrawn. Mark kept searching until he found an obituary. Ethan Parker, age 7, passed away after a long illness. Mark read it twice. Ethan was her little brother. Now Hannah's words hit deeper. "Not like I failed him." Near midnight, Mark opened the camera feed again. Hannah was still in the nursery even though her shift was over. She sat on the floor holding a small worn photo. It was a little boy in a wheelchair, smiling. Hannah whispered, "I tried so hard, Ethan. I learned everything I could." She shook her head. "And you still left." Mark felt like he was stealing her grief. He wanted to shut the feed, but he stayed, trapped by his own secret. Hannah rose and leaned over Lily's crib. She touched Lily's hair with 2 fingers. "I won't let her give up," Hannah whispered. "I won't let her feel alone." Lily reached in her sleep and grabbed Hannah's finger. Hannah held on like she was holding a promise. Mark's eyes filled. Hannah was not pretending. She loved Lily. The next morning, Mark stayed home. When Hannah walked in, she found him in the kitchen making coffee. She looked surprised, then gave a small smile. "You're here," she said. "I needed a break," Mark answered. "I've been running on empty." Hannah nodded and placed a small wooden box on the counter. "I brought some things," she said. "Things that helped my brother." Inside were textured balls, soft brushes, foam shapes, and an old rattle. "He loved these," Hannah said quietly. "They helped him feel more even when his body would not obey." She put a textured ball in Lily's hand. Lily squeezed it and smiled. Mark knelt beside them. "Where did you learn all this?" he asked. Hannah paused. "From living it," she said. Mark wanted to tell her the truth right then, about the cameras, about the fear, about the lie. He opened his mouth. Hannah's phone buzzed. She looked down and the smile left her face. She stepped away to answer, but Mark still heard her voice. "I know," Hannah said. "I'm trying. I'll have it by next week." A pause. "Please don't do that," she said softly. "Please, I just need time." She ended the call and turned back with a forced smile. Mark's mind ran in circles. Have what by next week? That night, Mark opened the camera app again, hating himself for it. On the kitchen feed, Hannah set her phone down. A message flashed for 1 second. "Final notice, eviction will begin if payment is not received." Mark stared at the words until they blurred. Hannah was about to lose her home and she had said nothing. Now the late nights made sense. The tense calls made sense. She was working to survive. Mark shut the laptop and sat in silence. He could solve her problem with one check, but he could not solve the lie that showed him the message. Tomorrow, he promised himself. "I will tell her everything. I will take every camera down. I will stop hiding behind fear." He went upstairs to check Lily. Hannah's jacket was hanging on the chair. Forgotten again. The picture frame near Lily's crib sat crooked. A black lens was peeking from the seam. Mark stood because if Hannah touched that frame, even by accident, everything would fall apart. Mark barely slept. Hannah's words kept turning in his head, and he kept seeing Lily reach for her in her sleep. By morning, he stayed home from work, because he was tired of living like a man who only reacts after damage is done. When Hannah arrived, she found him in the kitchen. "I need to learn what you do with Lily," Mark said. "Show me." Hannah nodded. They worked on the playmat. She guided his hands through gentle stretches. How to support Lily's hips. How to move without forcing. Mark copied her, slow and careful. Lily watched him, then made a small happy sound. Before lunch, Lily fell asleep. Hannah checked her phone and her face tightened. "If something is wrong, tell me," Mark said. "I'm fine," Hannah replied, but she did not sound fine. Mark made up his mind. Today he would tell her about the cameras, and he would remove every one of them. Late afternoon, Hannah packed to leave. Mark walked her to the door. "Hannah, wait," he said. "I need to tell you something important." Her phone buzzed. She glanced down and her face changed. "I have to go," she whispered, and she left. 20 minutes later, Hannah returned. "I left my phone," she said. "It's on the counter," Mark answered. She grabbed it and her bag knocked a glass bowl off the counter. It shattered. Hannah dropped to her knees. "I'm sorry," she said, reaching for the pieces. "Stop," Mark said. "You'll cut yourself." Hannah froze. In the broken glass, a small black lens stared up from the floor. She lifted it slowly. "What is this?" she asked. Mark's mouth dried. "Hannah, I can explain." "Why is there a camera in my hand?" she asked, voice shaking. Mark's words came out rough. "I was scared. Caregivers kept leaving. I didn't know who to trust. I thought I was protecting Lily." Hannah walked into the living room and pulled down the picture frame. "Another camera." She went upstairs and found more near Lily's crib and bookshelf. "How long?" she asked, tears sliding down her cheeks. 6 weeks, Mark whispered. Hannah stared at him. "You watched me for 6 weeks." From the crib, Lily started crying and reaching for Hannah. Hannah took one step closer, then stopped. "You watched me cry," she said. "You watched me talk about my brother. You watched me pray over your child." "I'm sorry," Mark said, voice breaking. "I trusted you," Hannah whispered. "I thought this place could be safe." Mark begged, "Please don't leave her." Hannah shook her head. "You already broke it," she said, and she walked out. That night, Lily screamed until her throat sounded raw. Mark held her, rocked her, tried feeding her, tried singing. Nothing helped. By morning, she would not eat. By the next day, she lay quiet, staring up like she had slipped away again. Mark tried to hire help. One caregiver lasted hours. Another left after 1 day. Everyone said Lily was bonded to one person, and without that person, she was shutting down. Mark stopped going to the office. He ignored Brian Cole's calls. He sat in the living room staring at the camera app, ashamed. The feeds showed empty rooms, and it hit him hard. The cameras had not protected Lily. They had protected his fear. On the third night, Mark called his mother, Carol Bennett. "Mom," he said, "please take Lily for a few days." "I'm coming," Carol said. After Carol arrived, Mark drove to Hannah's apartment and learned she had been evicted. He searched shelters across East Charlotte until a church shelter finally said her name, Room 2C. Mark knocked and stepped inside. Hannah sat on a bed by the window, holding a photo of Lily. She looked thinner, tired and wet with tears. "Hannah," Mark said softly. She went stiff. "No," she whispered. "I won't touch you," Mark said. "I just need you to hear the truth. Lily is not okay. She cries until she can't make sound. She won't eat, she won't let anyone hold her. She calls for you." Hannah pressed the photo to her chest. "Don't," she whispered. "I can't carry that." "I'm not putting it on you," Mark said. "I'm putting it on me. After Amy died, I forgot how to trust. I used cameras instead of courage. I hurt you, and I hurt Lily." Hannah's voice shook. "And my eviction, you saw that too." Mark nodded. "Yes, if you let me help, I will help the right way by asking. No secrets." Hannah stared at him for a long time. "I love her," she said. "That's why I stayed, that's why I tried." Mark nodded. "And she loves you. Come home, not as someone I watch, but as someone I choose to trust." Hannah took a slow breath. "No more cameras?" she said. "No more," Mark promised. After a long pause, Hannah nodded. "Okay," she whispered. Back at the house, Carol waited with Lily. Lily looked small and tired. For a second, she did not react. Then she saw Hannah and reached out with a cry. Hannah ran forward and held her. Lily clung to her and shook, then slowly settled, breathing easier. That night, Mark brought a box into the living room. Every camera was inside. He placed a hammer beside it. "I want them destroyed," Hannah said. "Together," Mark replied. They took turns until only broken pieces remained. Mark gathered the broken plastic into a trash bag and carried it to the garage. He did not feel proud. He felt exposed, like a man without armor. He came back and sat on the floor beside Hannah. Close enough to help, not close enough to demand. He listened to Lily breathe quietly. Mark looked at Hannah and said, "I won't ask you to forget, but I will spend my life earning trust." Hannah held Lily close. "Then show up," she said. "And stay." Mark nodded. "I will," he whispered. Dear viewers, this story is a reminder that the biggest damage does not always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from fear inside the people who love us most. Mark did not install those cameras because he hated Hannah. He did it because pain made him afraid to trust again. But fear can turn love into a prison, and it can push away the very person that was sent to help you heal. Hannah came into that house carrying her own wound. She did not come for money or drama. She came because she saw a child who needed love, and she refused to let that child feel alone. And little Lily, that innocent baby, taught the hardest lesson. When you finally find someone who brings peace back to your life, protect them with truth, not control. Because real love does not need secrets to prove itself. It only needs a heart that is willing to trust again. Now I want you to tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Which country or city? And what did you learn from this story? What part touched you the most? And what would you have done if you were in Mark's place? If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs this message today. Your support helps us reach more people and keep these emotional stories coming. And if you want more stories from us, comment more stories, and you will be the first to get the next emotional stories.